Hi guys, Faxinado here from Motion Swift Synthesis, and today I'd like to show you some cool Max4Live devices that we have built. That are actually really simple, generic MIDI controllers that allow you to control any hardware straight from Ableton Live, and it's especially useful for us, being the developers for the Scope platform. It allows for easy control and automation of our devices straight from Ableton Live. But again, you can use these controllers with any hardware synths. So as I mentioned, these are available at our user area at the XY zone. Um, and there will be many more coming, but right now we have already released the batch of first 5 simple controllers, and this batch is only based on knobs. It's like I said, simple stuff. Um, 5 different kinds, but are basically the same idea, you know. One of them is with 4 knobs, one of them is with 8 knobs, 12, 16, and the 8 knob version also has a randomizer inside, which I will show you in a second. So again, what it allows us is to control and automate hardware devices. So the first thing I'd like to do to show you this thing is I have in front of me an Innovation Launch control, and I would like each and one of these knobs on this controller to correspond to a knob on my Innovation Launch control, so I can actually control my controller via hardware. So it's really actually simple. All I have to do is go to the MIDI Learn and twist a knob on my launch control for every one of these knobs that I want to control. And now everything is connected, and I can move on to the next step. So as you see here, the first row of values is the actual knob value for each knob. The second row is the MIDI CC assigned, the MIDI controller number that you assign to this particular knob. Now this is bidirectional, so it will both transmit on this chosen MIDI CC as well as receive on this MIDI CC if you connect it in a bidirectional configuration, which I'll show you how to do in just a second. So I tend to use controllers between, if I can, 102 and 119. It's just, I know in my head that these controllers are, as defined by the MIDI protocol, unassigned and unused on any device. So I know it's safe to always use them. So we have 102, 103, 104, and 106 here, just for the example. And now I can, assuming that I've connected everything correctly, and I'm sending my MIDI to where it's supposed to go, which in my case is the input of the input of the driver, you know, that goes into the scope, and that goes into whatever device I want to control. In this case, I opened for this example our Aeolian harp device. Now all I need to do if I want to link it is I need to make sure that it's outputting. Let's see, scope PCI MIDI 1. Let's just make sure that everything here is okay. No, it's not okay. The reason that it wasn't automating is, yeah, I said you got to make sure that it is connected to whatever it needs to go. So it's not this cable. I want it to go from the DAW, from my controller, into the harp. Now, if I will go to create a controller, it'll already recognize what's coming from Ableton, which is number 102. For some reason, it's jumping also to 21. There we go, because I have another controller actually connected, so it's actually, I guess, recognizing that one. So 102 for the FM depth, it's enough. I'll show you just one for the example. And now as I move it here, you know, as I move my controller, you see it's moving both here and over on the device itself. Now, right now as it's connected in a unidirection, if I move this one, it'll move it on the scope device or on your hardware. But if you move on your hardware, it will not move on the live device. In order to do that, you need to send the MIDI back in to live in whatever way. You know, if it's hardware, then just connecting whatever you need to do. So in my case, it's just, this is the device, and I'd connect it back into Ableton's input. Now once I do that, now if I move on my device, it is bidirectional. It should be bidirectional anyways. Oh, okay, it's because of Ableton. In Ableton, you need to be in monitor in mode, and then it will work. Okay, so remember this part. I always kind of forget it myself, but then when it's not working, I remind myself that it needs to be on in mode in the MIDI monitor. So now, If I move it here, it'll move my scope device. If I move it with my controller, it'll move my scope device, and if I move it on my scope device, it'll move the controller. So everything is behaving correctly. Now I can do that to any one of these knobs. I don't think it's necessary for this example to show. But what it allows us again is to now I can really easily automate, inside Ableton. I can see my knob positions. I can use a USB controller, which, for example, scope, or let's say your hardware synth that you want to control does not know how to communicate with via USB. It only knows how to communicate via classic Midi. But then you can, use your DAW to communicate with whatever USB controller you're using, and then send it over whatever other MIDI methods to your hardware or to other internal MIDI devices, like for example in the scope card. So basically, you're using your DAW as a sort of USB hub, and Ableton is just really great, especially for this. So Ableton and Max4Live. So this is one of the controllers. Let's look quickly at the one with the randomizer. So I will not make the control assignments. It's pretty much the same idea, only that here you have a randomizer. When you click here, you can see that all the knobs are being randomized, and they are randomized by this parameter, which is the depth of randomization. It's a cool way to, either get presets or even change your sounds real time. If you just go by a little bit, you know, you can change it to as much depth as you would like. So these are really simple, as I said, Ableton controllers. But as I've also said, the user area, it's a one-time fee. Basically, if you want just the XY zone, if you're not a scope user, then the XY zone will cost just 15 euros to be a subscriber to, and those 15 euros grant you a lifetime subscription. And as this folder grows, you get more and more content. It'll definitely include more controllers, and it already includes the Xbox 360 control, and it might include other controllers as well in the future. So this could actually be pretty cool for you if you're using hardware synths and you're looking for some simple but clever controllers, to use with Ableton Live or in standalone, depending on whatever controller. Check our other videos. You will see the different stuff that is offered. So thanks for watching, and check out our Ocean Swift and Sedis website, oceanswift.net. Check out our user area and look out for the many more controllers that will come in the near future to this place over here. See you later, guys.